Hello, everyone. How are you doing? This is Daryl Guberman, CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. The rest of the information can be found down below this video in the description. We'll have many articles concerning this. This video today is about Pfizer paid consultant advised CDC on vaccine effectiveness. What's wrong with this picture? Well, this is going to go into the conflicts of interest. Maybe you care, maybe you don't care. Well, I want to introduce somebody to you right now. We have Mr. Scott Gottlieb, former commissioner of the FDA, and now he sits on Pfizer's board. And we did a video on him a couple days ago about Pfizer board of directors Scott Gottlieb, former commissioner of the FDA, lobbied Twitter to censor information about COVID vaccine. The more this gets deeper and disgusting, the more a lot of stuff is coming out that you, the business owner, and you, my fellow citizen, should really know. Let me introduce to you Ms. Kathryn Edwards. Ms. Kathryn Edwards has received grant funding from the NIH and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and is a consultant to Bionet and IBM. She is also a member of the Data Safety and Monitoring Board for Sanofi, X4 Pharma, Seqirus, Moderna, Pfizer, Merck, and Roche. Edwards did not reveal her active affiliations with companies such as Pfizer and Moderna, and that this information is also absent from her resume. Business owners, yes, conflicts of interest. She was one of the ones. She was getting paid as a consultant from Pfizer, and then she approved the vaccine. Isn't that nice? That sounds very reminiscent to what happened in Gambia in Africa with a cough syrup that killed over almost 70 children over there because they put, I think, propylene glycol, antifreeze. It's sweet, it's tasty, and it'll also kill you. And we're going to put her down, and we want to go through this and show you conflicts of interest. There's going to be many articles, not only containing her and Scott Gottlieb, but other things like exclusive independent advisor who evaluated Pfizer vaccine safety was a former paid consultant. That's another article on her. Conflicts of interest concerning COVID. And we're going to go into the quality conflicts of interest right now. Business owners, my fellow citizens, and my customers alike, and my prospective customers. Once again, I'm Daryl Guberman, the CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm. We've been open now going on 12 years. Let's get into the crux of this matter, shall we? You have, beginning at the root cause, you have ANSI, which is the American National Standards Institute, which is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental corporation, and here it is. It has federal agencies and corporations on board. In 2019, I exposed a impropriety. Again, I will say it again to you, business owners, my fellow citizens, that an A2LA, which is a consulting, actually a accreditation body for laboratory, was sitting on ANSI's board. I exposed that because they were sitting right over by laboratories that they certified. So that's basically the fox watching the hen house. Conflicts of interest. Do you see that? So I had this guy, Russ Cheney, who was a chairman at the time, call me up and leave me a message, half a nut, fuck you. Now, this is probably subliminally what ANSI uses as to dispense their quality, because we have failures under their logo, ANSI ANAB. ANSI took over complete control over ANAB. You'll see that very shortly in 2018. You have very bad conflicts of interest. Everybody is rubbing everybody's back. And it's a problem when you have corporations and federal agencies cohabitating under the same roof of ANSI. And then you have ANSI, who supplements people who are sitting on many of these federal agencies with healthy amounts of money, only working maybe 2 to 4 hours a year. All right. In 2022, we put in a 54-page booklet. Because we saw that they had nominations for a director at large. for ANSI. And I said, wow, why not get in there and change their mission statement from half a nut fuck you to something more quality bearing? Wouldn't you say so? I would. So what I did was I put in a 54-page document, 16 letters of recommendation from customers. Very well done. If you want a copy of it, I'll gladly send you this whole booklet. But what I found funny is that when I asked for the package to get elected, there's a letter right on top from Joe Batia, the CEO. The CEO said, congratulations to the nominee, which would be me. Please look at these different links. And those links gave us the code of conduct. The code of conduct makes Russ Cheney the need to get fired from that board. Absolutely. He's the chairman. They gave me 9 questions in this document for approval for nomination. And it was about what Daryl Guberman can do for ANSI, what I can bring to the table, what I can do to facilitate their wants, needs, desires, and their mission statement. Not this one, whatever. I don't know other than that mission statement that they have. I think this is the mantra that they say at the meeting, half a nut, fuck you. And I've played that tape for about Russ Cheney. You don't need to hear it. It's going to be down in some of the videos down below. I keep on repeating it because I think for a chairman to do that, he should get fired. On top of it, you have guys like Tim Cook from Apple, who's got a member of his team on ANSI's board. What does it say about him as a leader? Not good. You also have David Calhoun, a failure indeed with Boeing. Their quality is in the crapper. Do you know why? I will say why. Because they don't have Daryl Guberman watching over their quality. They've got somebody who cares about their martini, their cigar, and probably driving the golf cart. And missing a couple holes on the putting green. But anyway, we put in this. We were given 9 questions to answer. I answered them as to what we can do to bring to facilitate the small mom and pop shops into ANSI, because ANSI has all these OEMs on board. Nobody is representing the small mom and pop shop that supplies a lot of materials to these bigger OEMs that sit on ANSI's board. So that was my mission. So I got to the end of these 9 questions, right? And this is the note that was at the bottom. It said, the committee appreciates your interest in serving in an ANSI leadership position and your willingness to provide us with this additional information. Sincerely, half a nut, fuck you, Russ Cheney. You can't make this up. So do you think he's going to elect me or get me on board? No, he didn't, of course. But let's continue on. The conflicts of interest. You have Randy Doherty, the vice president of ANAB, the chairman of the IAF. Okay, in 2015, he was also on the principal on the IF tax form 990. He handed over leadership to this communist Chinese national, Zhao Jinwu. Zhao Jinwu has been involved with our quality since 1994. He is mandated by his country of origin, Communist China, to take your data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. He is also the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services out of Beijing, China. He was there in 2017 when he was still a chairman of the IAF. He was there in the laboratory at Wuhan, China, the Bio Level 4 lab that more than likely released the COVID virus, per Pamela Sale, who sat under deposition from one laboratory to another. Now, she is the vice president of laboratory accreditation for ANAP, an ASCLD lab, which is also owned by ANSI ANAP. And she gave a deposition. She said that from one laboratory to another, there are variances, basically no protocols, yet they still give them a quality certificate. It means nothing. In fact, a Marvin Schechter, a lawyer in 2011, gave a report to the state of New York and said, getting a certificate from ASCLD lab is no more than a badge of honor. It does not help the system or better product or quality. ANSI took over complete control over ANAB in 2000. And in 2018, you have federal agencies and corporations on board, okay? On top of that, we're going to go back and say in 2017, when he was over there in Wuhan, China, giving out the ISO 17025 for laboratory certification to Wuhan, China, Randy Doherty was being advertised in the Department of Homeland Security, okay? And he was the vice president on the actual website. You know, we did we did a video about Alex Morgakis, the commissioner of the DHS, And let me just say this is absolutely disgusting, because they have an individual, a Phil Mattson, who I'm going to introduce you to very shortly, who sits on ANSI's board, getting not only his federal salary, but also a very hefty ANSI stipend, so you could say. So that was it. He was being advertised. Again, Department of Homeland Security got their data taken from Communist China, and every federal agency sitting on ANSI got their data taken from China. Remember, here he is, IAF Incorporated in Delaware, and he's been there from 2015 to 2021. Yes. We're going to introduce you to Phil Mattson. Phil Mattson, his title is Executive Director, Office of Standards, U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And he was there when Randy was there on the DHS, and he's still there on ANSI. And remember, Zhao Jinwu, the Communist National, was buddies with Randy, so we don't know about cybersecurity. We don't know if technology was being exchanged, okay? Very easy with a zip drive, I think. Anyway, Phil Mattson was making $262,000, and that's tax-free. Yes, I know you're scratching your head saying, what do you mean tax-free? It's a royalty payment. I'll hold it here. Unfortunately, the term royalty is not defined in a tax law. The regulations simply provide that whether a particular item of income is a royalty must be determined by the facts and circumstances on each case. You have 10 different registrars, okay, 10 different registrars that can issue an ANAB accredited certificate in Communist China. You have 7 different registrars sitting on ANSI right over by ANAB, their accreditation body they use. Another conflict of interest. Even worse is that BSI sits on ANAB's board that can grant, suspend, and withdraw certifications. So you can have a manager sign off the certificate, also take the certificate away, and they're on the accreditation body that they utilize. Another conflict of interest. Many of the corporations and federal agencies utilize these bodies for their certification. Here is Zhao Jinwu standing in the lab at Wuhan, China, 2017, when he was still the chairman of the chairman of the International Accreditation Forum Incorporated in Delaware. And by the way, Randy was still sitting on the tax report as a principal. We have also Fauci, Anthony Fauci of the NIH, and you're going to see that here because the NIH sits on ANSI's board as well. He was getting inquisition by Senator Rand Paul. And he was asked about gain-of-function research. And Anthony Fauci said, I don't know anything about gain-of-function. Well, here, this came out of a China technical magazine. I have the magazine. I'll show you. You can see that upcoming event, second China workshop, China-U.S. workshop on the challenges of emerging infections, laboratory safety, and global health security. And you see the first ticket item there is gain-of-function research. Isn't that nice? This is the actual manual it came out of. Okay, this is the actual booklet. If you need it, I'd gladly send it to you, 203-556-1493, or Daryl, TQRS@yahoo.com. And here's Zhao Jinwu, and it's talking in the paragraph about him being the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services. The document that I showed you blown up, they save always the best for last. It's the last page. It's the second to the last page on this document. I call it the last page. And we would gladly send you the entire booklet so that you can go through it and scrutinize it and just read it. We found out along our way that ANSI ANAB are underwriters for the International Accreditation Forum Incorporated in Delaware and also the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. An underwriter, for those of you who don't know what an underwriter is any party that evaluates and assumes another party's risk for a fee. We pulled some more stuff because right now there's a conflict with Lockheed Sikorsky / Boeing wanting to open up that contract and retake it from Bell Aircraft, okay, Bell Helicopter. Well, what the problem is that you find out that Lockheed Martin, Lockheed Sikorsky, and Boeing all sit on ANSI's board right over by the Department of Defense, who signs off the appropriations for that item. On top of it, on a government contract, we found out that, yes, it is very true that ANAB is an underwriter for the IAF, meaning this. If that laboratory did release the COVID virus, and it's more than likely true, then the suit or anybody who wants to go after them for a family member's death, it would have to go through the United States, and that would be ANAB because they are underwriters. They assume all responsibility. People will say, well, Daryl, it's the China National Accreditation Services that did it. But I want to say this to you business owners. Let me see if I can find it for you. We have Randy Doty. At the time, he was the vice president of ANAB, the chairman of the IAF. And this is how it works. He said that an IAF, MLA, a multilateral agreement or arrangement organization, is equivalent in accreditation to ANAB. Being that it's equivalent to ANAB, that means ANAB takes responsibility because it's an equivalent to that accreditation. So if somebody wanted to go ahead and take, not Wuhan to court, but take ANAB because of their relative passing away or not, you can go for it. Contact me. I'll be your expert witness. And I will say this, though. Let me just preface this. The American Bar Association, the lawyer that you get, has to be top notch because the American Bar Association is very much in bed with ANAB and ANSI, ANAB. They also have the Department of Justice on board as well on ANSI. So it's not that you're going to bang your head against the wall and they're not going to move. But what they do in the realm of the court is the judge, you have to think of it like this. The judge is the CEO and the plaintiff and defendant's attorney are the workers for the judge. So he's working, the judge is getting money for both sides. So there was a statistic that was out, business owners, my fellow citizens, that they asked the plaintiff and they asked the defendant, did they feel that their own attorneys were colluding, working together? 85% of those questioned about that, defendant and plaintiff, agreed. 85%. That's a high percentage of, how should we say, collaboration between a plaintiff and defendant's attorney. You have sitting on ANSI's board, you have Johnson & Johnson, okay? Conflicts of interest. You're going to see it right now. You have Pfizer. Pfizer's sitting there, okay? And then you have the CEO, Albert Bourla. He's going to be down below in there. He says, when he was asked about taking the COVID shot, he says, I'm a 59-year-old man. I don't need to take it. I'm not on the front line. I don't know what to do. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it yet, but I'm going to try. I don't want to jump in line. As a CEO, Bela Lugosi, if you know anything about horror movies, he reminds me of Bela Lugosi, who played Dracula in the 30s and 40s in the horror films. That's dear old Albert Bourla. When he said that, it is absolutely comical. In one breath, he says, I'm not going to take it. And then he says, well, you have family members you love. You should take it. You should take the jab. Don't worry, take it. I won't take it, but you take it. And that was his words. Unbelievable. You also have the FDA, conflict of interest? Of course it is. FDA sitting by Pfizer. FDA sitting by Johnson & Johnson. You think this is good? On top of it, the FDA sits on ANAB's board. Okay, it's right here. I'm not going to go through with it and read it. I'll hold it here. You also have the factor that the FDA expands ANAB recognition under the accredited third-party certification program. Why not? Because as you can see, they sit together. The FDA sits on ANSI, and ANSI and ANAB sit together as well on the board, and ANSI sits on ANAB's board, etc., etc. Okay? Now, ANSI owns ANAB since 2018, so it's nice and harmonious, isn't it? You also have the USDA. And here it goes. Here's Anthony Fauci. You have the CDC and also the NIH on board. So there's a multi-layered conflict of interest. It is kind of frightening when you have a guy like Scott Gottlieb, who used to be the commissioner of the FDA, sitting on the board of the FDA, getting compensated. You also have Kathryn Edwards, who was a paid consultant and then came on board and said, oh yeah, the COVID vaccine's very good. And all you can hear is Albert Bourla saying, I didn't take it. I'm not going to take it. I'm a 59-year-old man. What are you going to do? I can't take it. I'm not going to take it. But you should take it. You have loved ones. You can kill them. Not good. Take it. It was made in the sun. It was made in the sun. What was made in the sun? I think it was down in Cancun. He was being made in the sun. Who knows? My telephone number is 203-556-1493 or Daryl, TQRS, at yahoo.com. And all I could think about is Albert Bourla saying, I'm not going to take it. I'm a 59-year-old man. I'm in good health. I don't have to take it. May take it. Might take it. He sounds like Bela Lugosi. Dear Lord, I thank you.